So like I said, we are in chapter number 2 for this book, Mind to Matter. And in the last session, we have begun with this chapter, and we ended at this story where Lady Adeline was able to heal her cancer disease through this healing energy, basically not with like material medications, but through energy. And today from there on, we will continue the chapter where we'll be talking about how sound is going to affect your energy and how the intricacies work there. And for that, we have just a recap for the previous session as well. Like we have talked about like how magnetic fields are around there, like from single cellular organisms to plants, human beings, to celestial bodies. And we have established like we are living in the biggest magnetic field, that's the Earth's magnetic field. And also our organs have fields, and also our cells have fields too. And the fields change in response to intention and the activity of a healer, and healer is no one but just us. And also we learned from the last slide, like the diseases show up in a person's energy field before it becomes evident at the level of matter. And also water present in our body is also sensitive to the energy fields, and it would affect based on the intent of us. And today, like I said, we will learn about how sound can affect matter. And yeah, so with that saying, like today we will talk about cymatics. Cymatics is the study of how sound affects on the effects of sound. Sorry for that. So we'll start with our a German physicist and musician who's called Ernst Chladni from the 19th century. And he's also renowned as father of acoustics for his pioneering experiments with sound. And inspired by other scientists of his time who had made energy fields visible, he developed a new device. What he did was he placed fine sand on top of thin metal plate and drew a violin bow along the side of the plate. And this causes the plate to vibrate. And when the vibration happens, you would notice like different vibrational frequencies produce different patterns in the sound. Not sound. And he progressively developed his ideas and published his work named as Acoustics in 1802. And thus that became the groundbreaking foundation for the scientific field cymatics. And following Chladni's pioneering work, scientists have been examining the effects of vibrational tones on various substances. Vibrations can change the configuration of material objects, in fact, dramatically as well. And normally these the experiment what Chladni has done, we would normally now see in days like in high school labs, which has become an indefinite experiment to understand, to show how sound creates effect and impact. And to elevate the experiment, what Chladni did is now they call it as a modern Chladni plate. It is attached to a scientific instrument called vibration generator. And when the frequency is adjusted, the metal vibrates at different rates. And that's because when certain frequencies are passed through molecules, they produce unique shapes. Generally, the higher the frequency, the more complex the pattern it produces in matter. So if we see in the, sorry, one moment. So what you're seeing is like the plates that you're seeing are in the figure number 2, figure number 3. Like these are different patterns that were created with Chladni's experiment. And the white material, like sometimes the most popular item that they would use is like either salt or white sand, which is normally like most go-to material because it would create a contrast in the shape, how it is being impacted on that dark colored metals. And there is also, the author mentions that living organisms such as seeds would also respond to the sound effects, like the vibrations of the sound. And in order to sound, the author goes to the next level and he says like water also responds to vibrations. Just a moment. I keep losing the screen. Yes, sorry about it. So this is a sound pattern created when the vibration is at 5,200. So
you could play that video, madam, if required.
okay.
Maybe need to put a full screen. Did you share the volume when you?
I'm trying to reduce the volume because it's too much.
No, we are not getting any volume actually. Maybe when you shared the PPT, when it have shared the volume actually, that's fine. But yeah, we can play the video.
There is no audio sharing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Just to go back and then click on the audio sharing.
Or if you don't need audio, that is fine. Yeah.
I am trying to see like where I can.
Yeah, it's fine. I think. Yeah, you want to share the audio or no? Don't want it.
I am trying to find that option to share the audio, sir.
Maybe we need to go back and then when you share the PPT, you need to tick the share sound there. Yeah.
Okay. Then can I please take a moment to do that?
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Please let me know if you're able to hear this sound.
Yes, madam.
Oh, thank you, sir. So this is the one what we were talking about just now, like how they're sprinkling white sand or soil on the plates. Yeah. So we have seen like how different sounds at different hertz are providing or generating different kinds of patterns on the materials. And now we'll move to the next slide.
Madam, we are able to see that as you told that when the frequency increases, the more rhythmic and more complex, like more harmonious, or like we can say very rhythmic, or the shapes and designs on the plate
Yes. And
are very complex. Yeah,
yes,
whatever you told, that you showed it in beautifully in the video as well. Yeah, that's very great, madam. Like now I just thought like, yeah, as we increase our frequencies and our energies, the more rhythmic our cells and all our matter in our body will be shaped, our molecules and all. That's what I understood. Thank you.
thanks for adding that. And also, I would like to bring up the point which you discussed, like how, like in now we are seeing like scientists have started discovering and like putting forth like evidence for us, like how sound actually affects our human bodies or in fact the other beings. But if we see our Vedic culture, we would have, there is a lot of emphasis on chanting the mantras, like chanting the Vedas or and holding the yagnas and homas. And the whole point is like when you're chanting them, the vibrations, when it is reverberating through your body and your around your environment, that definitely helps in raising your frequencies and elevating your energies. And also like yeah, and if there is anything more you want to add, sir, please go ahead on that topic before I move to the next one.
No, madam, all good. Thank you. Thank you. You can go ahead.
And yeah, and now like what you're seeing is, and now the author says like takes the next step and helps us understand like how water is going, like being affected when it is applied under sound. And this is the slide what you're seeing, like the how water molecules are impacted. And one such so let me give an account on few experiments what the author discusses with us. So when we like discharge water from a tube, the shape of the stream is round. But if certain frequencies are played nearby, we would observe that it changes the regular form into a series of right angles or a spiral, like the first screenshot you're looking at. And, another way to observe the impact of energy frequency on matter is to pass sound through a dish of water. And when the frequencies change, the patterns in the water also change too. And there is also like a proof like how classical music would produce complex but beautiful patterns, while like music like rock, metal, and harsh music produce chaotic or disorganized waveforms. That is the one that you're seeing, like one how the water molecule get itself into a pattern when it's under the impact of Mozart. And the other one is quite complex and discernible when it's impacted under heavy metal music. And going forward, like the author brings us an experiment that was done by a professor from Germany, Dr. Bernd Helmut Kroplin. He conducted a series of experiments at Aerospace Institute in Stuttgart, Germany. What he did was he led a group of students for an experiment. Each student filled a syringe with water and squeezed a series of droplets onto a microscope slide. And Kroplin's team took photographs of the droplets. They found that each person's group of droplets looked quite different from the droplets produced by the others. produced by the same person were virtually the same, even if they squeezed 10 or 20 or 30 droplets. A similar pattern was discernible across all the droplets. But that group of droplets looked completely different from the droplets produced by the next person and the next person. It looked as if the passage through the energy field of a person produced an undeniable and consistent impact on the matter in the form of water. So what they noticed was, like, when the water passes through a person's energy field, the shapes it is assuming is always the same, while different from the shapes produced by the other person. Just like how our fingerprints of each individual across billions of people on the planet are unique. And Kraepelin and his associate Regine Henstel described in their book Water and Its Memory, saying, this is the actual quote, to their surprise, they could demonstrate that the drop image is changed in the vicinity of the experimenter by the individual energy field around him or her. Each experimenter created an individual reproducible set of drop images without any special mind or thought activity. So this is most likely telling us, like, our unique magnetic field or energy field, whatever we call it, is completely to our own intent and our own influence. Like, we can create it to however it can be. And following that, there is also another study about effects of distant intention on water. And this was performed by a research group at Petaluma in California. So in this experiment, what they did was a group of 2,000 people in Tokyo focused positive intentions on water samples inside an electromagnetically shielded room in Petaluma. And such rooms which are shielded electromagnetically are called Faraday cages. They are lead-lined chambers designed for the sole purpose that to screen out any known form of radiation. And fiber optic cables were used to connect the instrumentation inside the room to the lab outside so that it will screen out even the most conventional electromagnetic fields. And unknown to those 2,000 people in Tokyo, there were several other water samples were set in a different location. And this water samples didn't have any closure or screening from electromagnetic waves. They were completely exposed as they are in their natural environment. And also there is no person sending out any positive intents on that. And then they took photographs of these ice crystals formed from both sets of water. And when they viewed, they found that the shapes in the treated water were more beautiful than those in the untreated water. And so the second photograph, what you're seeing is the water droplets, like, from different people. And you would see some of them having the same shape, which is most likely from the same individual, but how it is varying from individual to individual. And if we go into the design, like in the third screenshot, you would see, like, the more details or the intricacies of the water molecules. And from here, we dive into the next topic, like sound healing. So we understood, like, sound is creating patterns, it is affecting our magnetic fields, and it is setting up a pattern of our matter. And similarly, the author accounts for experience where a patient was actually healed out of his physical ailments. And this is by an acupuncturist, Francis Dashlet. So Mr. Francis Dashlet is a licensed acupuncturist, and he was treating a 40-year-old married man named Jim for intermittent heart palpitations. And he has been having them for like several months when he approached this doctor. He reported that when his heart started to race, he felt anxiety, shortness of breath, and chest pain. And then our Dr. Francis Dashlet for a complete heart workup checkup, and he was found negative for myocardial infarction or any specific heart problem. And to give a background for Jim, like he comes from a family history of alcoholism, and also he was physically abused by his father, and he received some therapy in the past to deal with that particular childhood problems. And Jim admitted that he normally used to hide or cover his feelings with humor and sarcasm. And also he used to have a concern, like if he would be a good father or husband and be a good worker at his physician's assistant. And he often used to resort to alcohol to calm down all his worries. And since he was dealing with all this, he visited this acupuncturist, and then he was assessed energetically over there, not just like physical and your regular diagnosis. And his assessment brought about a diagnosis that he had agitation of the spirit, which is called as Shen disturbance. And he had imbalances of meridian energies through liver, spleen, and the kidney, and intergenerational alcoholism. And also he had fear and issues with heart chakra. So essentially he was diagnosed with six of them, like agitation of the spirit, meridian energy imbalances through liver, spleen, and kidney, alcoholism, heart chakra issues, and fear. At the first treatment, Jim came in with heart palpitations and was visibly uncomfortable and frightened. But then the doctor took upon it on the treatment strategy, and he started to begin implement whatever his idea was, like that is to slow the heart rate and breathing, and to strengthen the kidney energy to anchor the energy of heart and lung acupuncture meridians. And in that way, his treatment started with tuning forks for grounding, centering, and stabilizing kidney meridian energy. Tuning fork intervals were applied to points for calming the spirit, since he had that agitation of the spirit, and nourishing and balancing the heart energy. Grounding on kidney points were repeated, and Jim reported feeling calm and a sensation he describes that his heart was slowing down and not feeling any anxiety anymore. And extraordinary vessels were used to address the intergenerational issues on his alcoholism, drawing on their primordial connection to source to open those deep-seated childhood issues, like because he had this he was a victim of this domestic abuse, violence from his father. So that was also a criteria that was supposed to be treated under this. And tuning fork combinations were used to break through the familial issues. The session ended with additional grounding using kidney points located on the feet. And Jim reported feeling calm and rested. And he reported no palpitations or panic symptoms following this treatment. So, and to give when they were using these tuning forks, they made they tried to use high octave tuning forks and sounded just above the body to clear and heal the subtle energy field. The treatments series ended by grounding the energy shifts using kidney points that are located on the feet. And though he still experienced occasional stress and anxiety, he felt much better. His condition was like he saw an improvement in his condition, like not falling thoroughly under anxiety or stress on a regular basis. And he continued to receive his treatment over the period. And so we can clearly see how sound can impact a person, like just not at the levels of setting your mood, like listening to music, but we can make use of it to heal ourselves as well. And this, after this, we are going into the next topic in the chapter, and that is acupoints and EFT. So I'll talk about what acupoints are. So acupoints are like excellent conductors of electricity in your body. They have like 1/2000th part of a resistance of its surrounding skin. So that means low resistance means high conductance, similar to how wires conduct. And when these low resistance points are stimulated, energy flows through them easily. They can be found using like devices like handheld skin galvanometer. And when we say acupoints, we might be thinking like, is it some ancient fiction from India or East Asia? But no, they are not. They are actually real and measurable. And when energy therapies are using them for healing, the flow of energy in the body is altered. Today, we have more than 30 different energy psychology methods, of which EFT is most prominent worldwide, like used by over 20 million people. And EFT uses acupoints on body's meridians by tapping on them with fingertips. And for this reason, EFT is often called as tapping. And I believe in one of our BYM classes as well, like there was this discussion about giving an introduction about tapping, and some of the tapping methods were also shared across. And the popularity of this tapping increased over the last 2 decades because of its quick and effective application, and that it can be easily learned. And there are now over 100 clinical trials published in psychology and medical journals attesting to its efficacy. Analysis of EFT for depression, anxiety, PTSD show that its treatment effects are much greater than those of drug or talk therapy. And several doctors also mentioned that after talking to their patients, their issues resolved without further need for conventional allopathic treatments. And based on these EFT and acupoints, there is an account where Dr. Chuck Gebhardt accounts one of his patients swelling subsiding immediately after acupoint tapping. So yeah, sorry. So, and also when we are talking about, before I go into that account of Dr. Chuck, I would also like to add, like we have talked in the previous, when we are talking about Mr. Jim and his alcoholism getting cured, we talked about meridians, meridians affecting his spleen, kidney, right? And so, to talk about, to give a little intro about meridians, they can be considered as channels that direct the flow of energy through specific pathways of the body, much like your circulatory system that holds and transports blood. And also each side of the body is traversed by 6 meridians. Let me just scroll up to the, So if you're looking at this photograph, so you'll be seeing meridians like 3 on saying 6 meridians, 3 on, we can call 3 as yin and 3 as yang. And also when earlier I said like these are proven and are real and not just fiction. Why? Because recently scientists at Seoul National University from South Korea confirmed their existence of meridians in our body, which they refer to as the primovascular system. They say that the system is a crucial part of cardiovascular system. And sorry for going back and forth. And now we are going to talk about how Dr. Chuck Geppert has helped his patient by using these EFT techniques. So Dr. Chuck Geppert is an American physician specialized in internal medicine from Southwest Georgia. He has been using a modified version of EFT to treat his patients and has seen great results for it. And if he ever senses that his patients are experiencing acute discomfort during their clinical visit, he would normally treat the discomfort with tapping or pressure on the acupoints to begin with. And so here we talk about a 60-year-old gentleman named Bill, who was being treated at his clinic for hypertension and hypercholesterolemia. Otherwise, he is healthy and well balanced, and he received a flu shot when he visited his clinic. And the next morning, Mr. Bill visited the doctor and reported that within the hours of the shot he received, his left arm began to throb with pain and swell, and now the area of swelling is about the size of half a hard-boiled egg, and he was in a lot of pain, and he was unable to stand even his shirt sleeve to touch it. And also he was running a temperature of 100.5 Fahrenheit. So the doctor prescribed, our Dr. Chuck Geppert, prescribed a painkiller, a steroid for Mr. Bill to start the treatment immediately. And he asked him to know if he's feeling any difficulty in breathing or getting dizzy. And at the same moment, Dr. Chuck also decided to tap on some of the meridians on Mr. Bill's head, left shoulder, and left arm to see if he could relieve his discomfort until the medication takes effect. Tapping on several spots seemed to help a little, but when he tapped on the inside of his left elbow at a spot that acupuncturists normally call L5 for over 30 seconds, the inflamed swollen lump shrunk to about 1/10 of its initial size, like in 30 seconds. And also the redness faded and it stopped hurting him. His temperature and diaphoresis resolved, and his feeling of sickness was also gone. And this jaw-dropping response was amazing for both Mr. Bill and Dr. Chuck. Bill even pounded on the previously tender spot with his fist to show how well it now felt for him. And Dr. Chuck says this is one of the most dramatic responses to acupoint stimulation that he witnessed as a doctor. And like this is one of the many experiences he has seen on a daily basis in his practice. So that's the effect, like what happens when you try to simulate your acupoints that can help flow your energy through the body. You are redirecting your energy flows to where you are having pain, and this is more or less like self-healing. I mean, in this case, the doctor has done it for the patient, but if we try to learn how tapping works, like we could actually heal it by ourselves.
Yeah, madam, can I interrupt you here? Sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So this is the point. Like when I read this book for the first time, and then I did little bit of research. That's when I was learning something
It
about it,
was, yeah,
and
it
we
was,
shared
I
in the
think, more or less
platform as.
like, yeah, thanks,
Yeah,
sir. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. And I practice it very regularly, madam. And the basic thing only. Not I don't go. I haven't learned like the depth of it, but whatever basic I use it every time when I feel tired, when I have no energy, and I immediately get some energy, madam, when I tap my points. EFT is very beautiful. Like sometimes when I wake up, I do it. When I sleep, before sleep, I do it. Really great experience. Maybe we after this we also may I'll ask and see if we can get that session again to see that. I mean, once we finish this. In addition to EFT, nowadays I'm also practicing Jinshin. That's a similar to that meridian points, similar to EFT, but in Jinshin the point will be more generic. The EFT points will be very particular. We have to tap at the particular point, but the
Mhm.
Jinshin is like an area where you can tap, and both are similar, madam. Like how we are learning in this chapter that we are energy beings, we have that energy fields around us, and these techniques of tapping will balance our energies, and we can even feel that when we do that, we actually can feel that energy, that calmness, or like whenever we feel like, oh, I'm not ready to get out of my bed, and I do that, I get that energy to get out of my bed as well. Like usually in the mornings, that's what I do. But yeah, I think we need, like as a group, we need to dive more into it and get the benefits of it in many healings as well. And the one thing I wanted to share was also like the in the example you told, the kidney point was in his feet. So that's the beauty of it is, uh, where the problem might be somewhere, but the tapping needs to be done on a different point. So for each of the part of our body, the point will be not exactly on that part, but it will be somewhere different. So that's the beauty of it. Like you have problem on head, you don't need to tap on head. The point would be somewhere else. That's the thing. Yeah. Thanks, madam.
Yes,
Thanks for that.
no, what is, yes, like normally they would say like they would say like a human body is like the miraculous creation of God, and I don't want to tag it with any religion, but just putting it out like who would like we need to take time to discover what exactly this body can perform, like think we can
Yeah.
able to self heal by ourselves, and like yeah, like we need to take time to understand like how this actually works, like yeah, not just
Yeah.
looking at it, we need to study it.
Right, madam. Right. Well said. Thank
Yeah, thank you. And to add to that EFT healing, like there are over 1,000 studies of energy healing that show how effective it is for both psychological conditions and physical symptoms as well, like including pain and autoimmune diseases as well. So although science used to regard energy fields as a epiphenomena of matter, like a byproduct of matter, the evidence now suggests that matter is actually the epiphenomenon of energy. So what we are saying is like it's not like matter exists and then energy is like a byproduct, but energy exists and then matter happens. So the implication for healing is that when we change our energy fields, the cells of our material bodies automatically respond. And yeah, let's go into the third account of a world champion swimmer, Mr. Tim Garton, like how he cured his cancer disease through this healing. So Mr. Tim Garton was diagnosed in 1989 with stage 2 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He was 49 years old at that time, and the tumor was the size of a football in his abdomen. It was treated with surgery, followed by 4 chemotherapy treatments over the span of 12 weeks, and with an additional abdominal radiation for another 8 weeks. So despite his initial concern that the cancer appeared to be terminal, the treatment was successful, and by year 1990, Tim was told that all his signs of cancer were retracting. And in early July of 1999, that's like after 9 years from his cure of treatment, he was again diagnosed with prostate cancer. A prostatectomy in late July revealed that the cancer had expanded beyond the borders of his prostate and cannot be surgically removed. So once again, he had to receive weekly radiation treatment in the area of his abdomen. And after 8 weeks of treatment, the cancer had cleared. And then in 2001, so that's like, again, 11 years after his first lymphoma, the second relapse happened in 2001. And this time it was in his neck. It was surgically removed through radiation, he had a growth on the other side of his neck the following year. And it also spread across his trachea and also was diagnosed as a fast-growing lymphoma this time that required emergency surgery. Since this was also widespread, autologous bone marrow and stem cell transplant was done at the same time, but it was not successful. And there was concern that the tumors would metastasize to his stomach. And his doctors at this point said they could do nothing more for him, but they recommended him an experimental medical treatment that was going on, but it was not exactly approved at that point. And also that medical experiment was not for a cancer of this kind of intensity. But still, Mr. Tim Garton followed through it. He received an injection called Rituxan, which is monoclonal antibodies. And it was this Rituxan was designed to flag the cancer sites and potentially helps stimulate the immune system to know where to focus. And at this point, Tim and his wife, they sought help from energy medicine practitioner. They took help from Miss Kim Wedman and went to Bahamas for 3 weeks. And there, Miss Kim provided like in-person instructions and healing strategy for 1 week. And the next 2 weeks, Tim and his wife took it upon themselves to stick to that schedule and follow the practice. And what exactly Miss Kim did was, like, the sessions included a basic energy balancing routine with specific interventions of energy pathways that would focus on immune system and that feed energy to stomach, kidneys, and the bladder. And then she used meridian tracing, a chakra clearing, and working with electrical, neurolymphatic, and neurovascular points. And after these 3 weeks have completed, upon returning to his home in Denver, Mr. Tim wanted to see how what is the status of his cancer, whether it is spreading or did it actually show any improvement. And he scheduled a follow-up assessment with his doctor. And the author actually quotes the words of the doctor here: "There is nothing more that we can do for you." And he says, the sentence actually might be taken in both the ways, but in here it is like positive, because to everyone's thrill and surprise, Tim was cancer-free. So that's why he said there is nothing more that we can do for him. And he has remained so like with cancer-free from the time of this assessment and until the time of while this book was being written. And he has been checked with a scan each year, and there was no cancer detected during this period. So that is it's a long, tedious journey for him, but when he resorted to energy healing rather than these surgeries, radiation, where he got several burns on his bodies, like it did a miracle and a magic for him. And that's a really nice account to learn. And next, we'll be talking about with all this going on, like we are trying to see how energy is building matter, right? The chapter is all about that. And we have to talk about Mr. Albert Einstein here, because here comes his equation, like where he says E is equal to mc square. So, and in his statement, E stands for energy and M stands for matter. And they are balancing the equation in the opposite sides. What we have called matter is energy whose vibration has been so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses. There is no matter. So I would like to repeat the same sentence again. What we have called matter is energy whose vibration has been so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses. There is no matter. So it's like energy being seen in its different states, like its gaseous, liquid, and solid forms. And we can choose to remain materialists. And when faced with imbalances in our lives, disturbances in our emotions, and diseases in our bodies, we can look for material solutions like pills, surgeries, whatever to make us feel better. But we can also choose the path of energy. When people change energetically, matter follows right along. And we have seen through various examples using different mediums, sound, water. And when we are faced with inevitable challenges of being human, we can definitely take Einstein's advice and shift the E side of the equation. In that way, what we are doing is we are addressing our problems at the level of cause rather than at the effect. And shifting to the level of detached consciousness opens us to the infinite possibilities contained in the non-local field of infinite intelligence. I mean, if when we are attending different sessions in our BYM platform, we keep hearing this point, right? All we have to do is open ourselves to this infinite intelligence. And we can create an alignment with this universal field we are in touch with, and we are no longer bound by the limited subset of possibilities just offered by this material world. So this concludes our chapter 2 from this book, and we can, and similarly to chapter 1, the author provides us a list of activities to practice this week to make sure we are implementing what we have learned through this chapter. And he says, like, sing for at least a few minutes each day when you're alone, experience water deeply, take a walk by a body of water, enjoy a bath, notice the ripples and reflections. Before you drink a glass of water, hold it to your heart and radiate blessing towards it. And use sound consciously. For the entire week, fast from all music other than meditation music channels. And also, when we listen to certain of our mantras or chantings, or in that case, the simple sound Omkaram or our Om, like it really cleanses our, like, I'm not just talking what I have read somewhere, but this is what I have done. I have a Om sound chanting that lasts for 1 hour downloaded on my phone. And sometimes when I'm get crazy at when it gets too much crazy at work, what I do is, like, not for the 1 hour, but at least 5 to 10 minutes, I try to put that, and like the calmness it throws over you is like nothing can do the miracle. So yeah, I'm already doing that. So, and you can write your observations of your experiences of sound and water in your journal, and you can share with us. And now we can discuss if anyone has anything to share or ask anything.